The sun was setting behind the tall buildings of Haven City. The sky turned orange and the streets began to fill with evening lights. On the western highway, 2 city police officers drove their patrol car, watching the traffic flow. Officer Ein. Mark sat in the driver's seat while Officer Ryan handled the radar and the radio. The day had been slow and both were waiting for their shift to end. Ryan yawned and said, "Another quiet day. No speeding, no trouble." Mark smiled slightly. "I like quiet days. It means people are behaving." As they passed a long stretch of open road, something flashed in Ryan's radar screen. A black dot moved across the scanner at high speed. Ryan leaned closer, his eyes wide. "That is 200 kilometers an hour." Mark frowned. "You sure?" Before Ryan could answer, the sound of a roaring engine filled the air. A sleek black motorbike rushed past them, its tires humming against the road. The rider wore a black helmet with a silver stripe. The bike had no license plate visible. Mark turned on the siren and pressed the accelerator. The patrol car's lights flashed red and blue. Ryan grabbed the radio and reported, "Unit 3, pursuing a speeding bike on Highway West, heading toward the industrial zone." The motorbike slowed down instead of speeding away. Mark was surprised. The rider stopped near an old service station that had been closed for years. The police car pulled over behind him. Mark stepped out first, adjusting his belt and walking toward the rider. The air was dry and hot, and a faint wind carried the smell of dust and fuel. Ryan stayed close behind, one hand near his holster, though he did not expect danger. The rider slowly removed his helmet. He looked young, maybe in his late 20s, with short, dark hair and calm brown eyes. His face had a quiet, steady look that did not match the usual nervousness of someone stopped by police. Mark spoke first. "Evening, sir. Do you know how fast you were going?" The man looked at him and replied, "Yes, I know." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Then you also know that you broke the law. Can we see your ID, registration, and the plate for this bike?" The rider reached into his jacket pocket but then stopped. "I don't have an ID with me." Mark sighed. "That is not a good start. What is your name?" "Tom," the man said simply. "Tom what?" "Just Tom." Ryan exchanged a look with Mark. "You expect us to believe that?" Tom did not argue. He just looked at the horizon, where the sun had almost vanished. He spoke softly. "You should not have stopped me." Mark's voice grew firm. "Excuse me?" Tom met his eyes. "You stopped the wrong bike." Ryan laughed a little. "Right, and I suppose the right one is flying somewhere else?" Tom did not smile. "You still have time to leave." 10 minutes, that is all I can give you." Mark felt irritation rise. He thought this was some kind of threat. "Look, son, we are not playing games. Step away from the bike." Tom obeyed without protest. He stood a few feet from his vehicle while Mark and Ryan began to inspect it. The bike looked different from any model they had seen before. Its frame was smooth, made from a dark material that looked like metal, but had no reflection. The engine gave off a low hum, even though the key was removed. Ryan pointed at a small silver case attached to the side. "What is this?" Tom answered. "Equipment." "What kind of equipment?" "Sensitive." Ryan opened the case carefully. Inside were small metal rods and a flat device that glowed faint blue. The glow pulsed like a heartbeat. Ryan frowned. "Looks like illegal tech, maybe military stuff." Mark stepped closer. "Tom, what is this device for?" Tom replied calmly, "It is keeping something out. If you touch it the wrong way, it will stop working." Ryan closed the case quickly. "You are in serious trouble, friend. You are carrying unregistered hardware, no ID, and a plateless bike. We are taking you in." Tom looked at the sky again. The orange light had turned to deep red. He took a slow breath and said, "You are making a mistake. If you take me, you put yourselves and this city in danger." Mark frowned. "Danger from what?" Tom answered. "From them." Ryan shook his head. "Who is them? You better start making sense." Tom did not reply. His gaze stayed fixed on the darkening clouds. The wind had grown stronger and a faint vibration ran through the ground. It felt like distant thunder, but there were no storm clouds above. Mark looked around. "Do you feel that?" Ryan nodded. "Yeah. Maybe a truck convoy on the other road." Tom shook his head. "No. They are early." Mark lost patience. He pulled out a pair of handcuffs. "Turn around. You are under arrest for reckless driving and possession of unlicensed equipment." Tom did as told. He did not resist when Mark locked the cuffs around his wrists. He said quietly, "You have 8 minutes." Ryan checked the radio again. "Dispatch, we have one suspect in custody, unknown tech found on vehicle, requesting backup and verification on possible military hardware." The radio crackled but gave no clear response. Static filled the air for a moment, then silence. Ryan tapped it again. "Strange. Signal is gone." Tom spoke without turning his head. "The signal is blocked. It happens before they arrive." Mark gave Ryan a puzzled look. "Before who arrives?" Tom said, "You will see." Ryan snorted. "You keep saying that like this is a movie. Let me tell you something, Tom. No one is coming to save you." Tom looked at him with calm eyes. "They are not coming to save me. They are coming because of me." The wind grew louder, blowing dust across the road. The streetlight nearby flickered once, then went out. The patrol car's radio screen turned black. Even the engine sound seemed to fade. Mark tried his car keys. Nothing happened. "Ryan, the power is dead." Ryan looked uneasy now. "That is impossible." Tom turned slightly toward them. "You have 6 minutes left." Ryan stepped back. "All right, what is going on here? Who are you really?" Tom did not answer. He looked at the metal case on his bike. The blue glow had dimmed. "The stabilizer is failing. They can see us now." Mark tried to stay firm. "Enough. You will explain everything at the station." Tom sighed. "You will not reach the station. You should have listened." Ryan rubbed his forehead. "This guy is crazy." Mark began to walk back toward the patrol car when a faint rumble echoed through the air. It was deeper than thunder, heavier than any truck. The ground started to tremble again. Mark looked down the road and saw dust rising in the distance. "Ryan, do you see that?" Ryan squinted. "Looks like lights, a lot of lights." Within seconds, bright beams appeared on the horizon, moving fast toward them. The rumble grew into a roar. Tom stood still, eyes closed, as if waiting for something familiar. Mark took a step forward. "Are those cars?" Ryan nodded slowly. "Big ones," Tom said quietly. "You still have time to stand aside." Ryan pulled his gun, though he was unsure why. "What is coming, Tom? Tell us now." Tom looked at him. "Humvees, 50 of them, and the person leading them will not be happy you stopped me." Mark blinked, thinking it was another bluff. But the sound on the road said otherwise. The approaching lights multiplied. The vibration under their feet grew stronger until it felt like a storm was rushing toward them. Mark shouted, "Get back in the car." Ryan ran toward the patrol car, but the vehicle refused to start. The lights from the distance became clearer. Shapes of heavy trucks and armored vehicles filled the road, moving in formation. Dust swirled in thick clouds as they came closer. Tom stood calmly with his hands cuffed. 5 minutes early, he said softly. Mark backed away, trying to process what he was seeing. Military vehicles filled the highway, their engines loud and synchronized. Soldiers in full gear held their positions inside the trucks. Ryan whispered, "What did we just stop?" Tom turned toward them and spoke with quiet certainty. "You stopped the wrong bike." Mark looked at the endless line of Humvees now surrounding them from both sides of the road. Dust covered the patrol car, and the lights from the vehicles blinded them for a moment. He could barely hear himself think over the engines. Ryan muttered, "This cannot be real." Tom stayed calm, almost peaceful. "It is very real. You should not have touched the case." Mark looked at the bike. The metal case was glowing brighter again. "What is inside it?" Tom answered. "Something that keeps your world safe." The first Humvee stopped a few meters away, and the sound of boots hitting the ground followed. Soldiers began to form a circle around the scene. Their faces were hidden behind dark helmets. One figure stepped out from the lead vehicle. It was a tall woman in a black uniform with a captain's insignia. Mark and Ryan watched in silence, their hearts pounding. The woman's voice was strong. "Release him." Mark looked at her in confusion. "Who are you? What is going on here?" The woman ignored his question and turned to Tom. "Sir, are you all right?" Tom nodded. "I am fine. You came early." "We detected interference. We could not risk delay," she said. Mark slowly lowered his handcuffs key, realizing the truth in her tone. This was not a rescue. This was an operation. The woman faced the officers. "You have no idea what you interfered with. Step back now." Ryan whispered, "Captain, who is he?" She looked at Tom with respect. "He is the reason you still have a city to protect." Tom turned his calm gaze toward the two stunned officers. "I told you that you stopped the wrong bike." The dust from the Humvees settled slowly on the highway. Mark and Ryan stood frozen, their minds racing. 50 soldiers had surrounded them, and their patrol car looked tiny and fragile compared to the armored vehicles. The captain, Nora, stood in front of the lead Humvee, her posture strong and commanding. Tom remained calm, his hands still cuffed, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Mark finally found his voice. "Captain, we don't understand. Who is this man, and why are you surrounding a public highway?" Nora's eyes softened slightly as she looked at Tom. "He is the reason your city is safe. He carries something very important, and we cannot allow it to fall into the wrong hands." Ryan raised his voice. "Important? What is it? Some kind of weapon?" Tom shook his head. "It is not a weapon. It is a shield. Something that keeps a threat away from your world." The officers exchanged a look. Their hearts were pounding. Mark took a step forward. "A shield? Against what?" Before Tom could answer, the ground trembled again. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through every inch of the asphalt. The soldiers moved quickly, forming a tighter perimeter around Tom and the bike. Their movements were silent but precise, showing years of training and coordination. Nora spoke calmly but firmly. "Everyone stay alert. The threat could appear at any moment." "Tom, prepare the stabilizer. We have no time to waste." Tom nodded and bent down to the metal case. The blue glow inside pulsed faster now, like a heartbeat racing. He pressed a small panel on the case and the device began to expand slowly, lifting into the air above the bike. Tiny lights moved along its surface, connecting in a network of energy that shimmered faintly. Mark stepped back. "What is that?" Tom did not answer. His eyes were fixed on the sky. "They are coming," he said quietly. The wind grew stronger, sweeping dust and debris across the road. The air seemed to hum with energy, and even the officers could feel it in their bones. The first shapes appeared above the horizon. Small, sharp figures moved fast, too fast for the human eye to follow clearly. Ryan squinted. "Are those drones?" Tom nodded. "Alien scouts. They detect energy like the stabilizer you see here. They are searching for it." Mark shook his head. "Aliens? You expect us to believe that?" Tom looked at him steadily. "You will see soon enough. Your belief does not matter. Only action matters." The soldiers moved instinctively, taking positions around Tom. Some carried equipment that Mark could not recognize, small devices with panels and screens that blinked in rapid patterns. Others held their rifles, scanning the sky with precision. Nora moved to the front of the formation, watching Tom and the incoming threat. Tom touched the stabilizer again. Its lights brightened, forming a dome around the group. The humming sound grew louder, filling the officers' ears, but it was not painful. It was steady, like the rhythm of a living being. "Step back," Tom said. "The shield will protect you, but I cannot control it fully with you too close." Mark and Ryan obeyed, retreating behind the patrol car. Dust swirled around them as the first scouts came closer. The shapes in the sky were unlike anything they had ever seen. They were angular, metallic, and moving with intelligent purpose. Light reflected off their surfaces as they swooped and scanned the area below. Nora raised her hand, signaling the soldiers to stay ready but hold their fire. "Do not engage unless necessary," she ordered. "Our priority is to protect the stabilizer." Tom closed his eyes and concentrated. The stabilizer emitted a faint pulse that extended outward in a sphere, pushing the scouts back slightly. The drones recoiled as if hitting an invisible barrier. Mark and Ryan felt the air pressure shift around them. Ryan whispered, "It's real. This is really happening." Mark nodded silently, unable to speak. He had no idea what they had just become a part of. The city they thought they were protecting was under threat, and they had only just glimpsed the surface of what was coming. The drones regrouped quickly, circling above in a wide pattern. Their movements were coordinated, almost like a hive. Tom's hands moved over the stabilizer, adjusting small controls. "They are testing the barrier," he said. "If they find a weakness, they will strike." Nora moved closer to the patrol car. "Officers, listen to me carefully. You need to stay behind the line. Do not interfere with Tom's actions. These machines are beyond your weapon's reach." Mark swallowed hard. "We understand, but we want to help." "We can do something." Nora shook her head. "No, your presence is to witness, not to act. Tom's work will determine survival, not force." The drones started to descend slowly, hovering closer to the road. Each one scanned the area with beams of light that cut through the dust. Tom's stabilizer pulsed more quickly now, its energy forming a barrier that shimmered like water in sunlight. The hum was constant, filling the air, vibrating in the ground beneath them. Ryan whispered, "They're going to break it." "I can feel it." Tom kept his focus, his eyes locked on the approaching threat. "They cannot break it if I remain calm. Fear makes it unstable. Control is the key." Mark glanced at the soldiers. They were disciplined, moving like one mind. Each one had a role, each one watching, waiting, ready to react. They were humans too, but the technology and training made them formidable. They were not just protecting Tom, they were defending humanity. The first drone struck the edge of the stabilizer. Sparks flew in the air as the barrier absorbed the energy. The pulse of the shield expanded, pushing the drone back. The impact sent a vibration through the asphalt, and Mark had to steady himself against the patrol car. "That is incredible," Ryan whispered. "It held it. It really held it." Tom's hands moved with precision, adjusting the stabilizer. "Hold steady. They will try again." The drones regrouped and attacked as one. A coordinated wave of energy came toward the shield. The stabilizer glowed brighter, almost blinding in the twilight. Sparks flew and the ground shook. Dust and debris flew into the air, and even the Humvee's engines roared in response. Mark and Ryan watched in awe. They had never seen humans perform like this. The soldiers were calm, precise, and unshaken by the chaos around them. Their discipline, their coordination, and their courage were extraordinary. Tom's face was calm, focused, and determined. He adjusted the stabilizer again. The pulse from the device formed a visible dome of light, pushing the drones back. The wave of energy from the attackers bounced off, unable to penetrate the barrier. One of the drones tried to go around the edge, seeking a weak point. Tom's eyes followed it, and with a small gesture, the stabilizer adjusted, sealing the dome completely. The drone collided with the barrier and spun away, disabled. Nora's voice was calm but filled with authority. "Good, keep it stable. Don't lose focus," Mark whispered to Ryan. "They are humans, Ryan, but they are fighting like gods." Ryan nodded. "I can't believe what I am seeing. This is beyond any training we had." Tom spoke softly, almost to himself. "Energy flows. Fear breaks it. Humanity must hold its line. Today it is me." The next wave of drones came faster, larger, and more aggressive. The stabilizer pulsed violently, its hum growing louder. Dust and wind swirled around the group, and the blue glow illuminated the highway with an otherworldly light. Mark felt a mix of fear and awe. He had stopped a man on the wrong bike, and now he was witnessing the true scale of the universe. He realized that humans had more courage, strength, and ingenuity than anyone could imagine. Ryan grabbed Mark's shoulder. "Look at the soldiers. Look at Tom. They are fighting not with weapons but with will and skill. That is humanity," Mark nodded silently. He understood the lesson now. They had stopped a man who carried the hope and protection of countless lives. And in moments, they would witness the full power of human determination. The sky above the highway shimmered with the approaching drones, their lights scanning and probing. The stabilizer glowed steadily, absorbing and deflecting energy. Tom's hands moved over the controls, adjusting and reacting with perfect timing. Nora walked slowly among the soldiers, checking their positions and giving small commands. Her calm presence inspired confidence in everyone. Each soldier was ready to act instantly, to protect the stabilizer at all costs. Mark and Ryan remained behind the patrol car, watching in silence. Their earlier frustration and confusion had been replaced by awe. The reality of what they had interrupted sank in. They were witnesses to humanity's hidden strength, the quiet power that protected the world from threats most people would never see. The first part of the battle had begun, and Tom's stabilizer held. The drones had not broken through, but the tension was far from over. Every second counted. Every adjustment mattered. Every pulse of energy was a testament to human skill, courage, and determination. Mark looked at Tom and whispered, "We stopped the wrong bike." "You were right." Tom glanced at him briefly, his calm eyes acknowledging the statement. Then he returned his focus to the stabilizer. The fight was far from over, but he was ready. Nora's voice rang out over the noise. "Hold your positions. Protect the stabilizer. Humanity depends on it." Mark and Ryan stood behind the patrol car, watching, understanding, and learning that in this world, courage and skill could protect the planet in ways they had never imagined. The countdown continued. Time was critical, and the battle to defend the Earth had just begun. The road trembled under the weight of the Humvees as they shifted into formation. The sun had completely disappeared behind the horizon, leaving a dim orange glow along the skyline of Haven City. Dust and wind swirled around the highway, illuminated by the blue glow of the stabilizer hovering above Tom's bike. The drones had paused at a distance, circling in the sky like predators assessing their target. Captain Nora raised her hand, and instantly, the 50 soldiers adjusted their positions. Each soldier moved with precision, responding as if they shared a single mind. Some held their rifles steady. Others activated small devices that projected shields and scanners across the highway. The coordination was extraordinary, a perfect combination of human skill and technology. Mark and Ryan crouched behind their patrol car, observing silently. The two officers had never seen anything like this. They had thought they were stopping a simple rider. Instead, they had witnessed the deployment of humanity's unseen defense. Nora spoke to the soldiers through a small earpiece, her voice calm and commanding. "Form a perimeter around the stabilizer. Protect it at all costs. The drones will attempt multiple entry points. Stay alert, and remember your training. Humanity depends on every one of you tonight." Tom's hands moved over the stabilizer, adjusting the blue energy fields. Each pulse emitted from the device pushed the drones back slightly. The sky above shimmered with light and movement as the first drone tried to break the perimeter. Sparks flew from the impact, and a vibration ran through the ground beneath the patrol car. Ryan whispered to Mark, "It is amazing. They are holding them off without firing a single bullet yet." Mark nodded. "This is not a fight humans lose. Look at their discipline. Look at Tom, he is calm. That is the difference." The first wave of drones regrouped and tried a coordinated attack. This time they approached from multiple angles, attempting to surround the stabilizer. Tom's device responded immediately, expanding its energy field in an invisible pattern that adjusted to the incoming threat. Sparks erupted as the drones collided with the barrier. Some were thrown backwards, spinning uncontrollably before crashing into the asphalt. Nora's voice came again, sharp and precise. "Soldiers, scan the horizon. Identify any weak points. Prepare to engage only if they breach the shield. Focus on Tom. He is our priority." The soldiers obeyed instantly, small drones and sensors deployed from their equipment, forming a mesh of observation across the highway. Every movement of the alien drones was tracked, analyzed, and countered. Mark and Ryan were overwhelmed. They had never imagined that human beings could act with such coordination and precision under pressure. One of the soldiers, a young man with a determined expression, adjusted a device on his chest. The scanner highlighted an approaching drone in red. He raised a small rifle-like weapon and fired. A blue pulse from the stabilizer deflected the drone's path, but the soldier's timing was perfect. The drone's trajectory was altered and it spun away, unable to rejoin the attack. Tom glanced at the soldier and nodded slightly. "Good timing. Keep focusing," Mark whispered to Ryan. "They are not just soldiers. They are artists in a battle no one else sees. Every action is precise." The drones regrouped for another assault. This time they coordinated in a line, attempting to break the stabilizer from the side. Tom adjusted the device again and a bright shield expanded, forming a dome over the road. Sparks flew and bright flashes lit up the night sky. The patrol car shook as the impact vibrated through the asphalt. Nora moved forward slightly, inspecting the formation. Her eyes scanned the soldiers, ensuring everyone was in position. Maintain the dome. Do not let fear break your focus. Humanity relies on this. Every second counts. Ryan glanced at Mark. Do you realize what we are watching? This is humans protecting the world. Not just the city, but the world. Mark nodded silently, unable to speak. The sight before him was beyond imagination. A single man on a bike, 50 soldiers and a stabilizer device were holding off a fleet of alien scouts. One of the drones broke formation and tried a direct approach. It struck the stabilizer with full force. Sparks erupted and the dome pulsed violently. Tom's hands moved quickly over the controls, redirecting energy to the impact point. The shield absorbed the energy, bending it outward and deflecting the drone harmlessly into the distance. The soldiers responded instantly. Some fired non-lethal energy pulses at drones attempting to breach the perimeter. Others activated small defensive fields that added layers of protection to the stabilizer. Each action was coordinated, each movement precise, as if every soldier knew exactly what the others were doing. Nora spoke to the officers. You see this? This is why stopping him was a mistake. He is not just a rider. He is humanity's line of defense against threats you cannot imagine. Step back and watch, learn. Mark nodded slowly. He understood the gravity of the situation. They had interrupted a mission of the highest importance, but now they were witnessing the truth. Humanity had hidden guardians, humans who were trained, skilled, and courageous enough to protect the world in silence. The drones changed tactics. They hovered above in a tight formation, their metallic shapes reflecting the dim light. They released a wave of energy toward the stabilizer, faster and stronger than before. Tom's device responded instantly, the dome of light expanding outward to absorb the attack. The energy collided with the shield, sending shockwaves across the highway. Mark and Ryan stumbled as the patrol car shook violently. Ryan whispered, "It is holding. It is really holding." Tom adjusted the stabilizer again, his face calm and focused. They are testing every weakness. Focus and control will protect us. The soldiers maintained their positions, scanning for new threats. Some deployed small drones of their own, moving quickly to intercept any approaching alien scouts. Others prepared countermeasures, energy pulses, and temporary shields ready to activate. Every second was a test, and every action mattered. Mark watched in awe. He had stopped a man on the wrong bike, and now he realized the full scale of the situation. Tom was not just a rider. He was a protector, a guardian of humanity. The soldiers were not just men and women in armor. They were the silent defense of the world, trained to respond instantly to threats beyond comprehension. One of the larger drones attempted to strike the stabilizer directly from above. Tom's hands moved quickly, sending a pulse of energy upward. The dome flared brightly, absorbing the impact. Sparks flew and the drone was deflected into the distance. Nora raised her hand, signaling the soldiers to hold their fire but stay ready. Mark whispered, "They are humans, but they fight like gods." Ryan nodded, his eyes wide. "I have never seen anything like this. Not in training, not in movies. This is real and they are holding the line." Tom spoke softly, almost to himself. "Control is everything. Fear breaks it. Humanity must hold its line." The sky above the highway shimmered with the presence of the remaining drones. Their movements were intelligent, coordinated, and relentless. Tom's stabilizer pulsed steadily, pushing back against the attacks. The soldiers responded instantly, each action precise and effective. Mark whispered to Ryan, "We stopped the wrong bike." "You were right, Tom. You were right." Tom glanced briefly at the officers, acknowledging them with calm eyes. Then he returned his focus to the stabilizer. The drones were relentless, but he was ready. The shield held. The soldiers maintained their positions. Humanity's defense was active, and the world remained protected, unseen by the people who lived their daily lives, unaware of the battle above their heads. Nora's voice rang out, clear and commanding. "Hold your positions. Protect the stabilizer. Humanity relies on it. Every second matters." Mark and Ryan remained behind the patrol car, watching, understanding, and learning. Courage, skill, and determination could protect the world in ways they had never imagined. The countdown continued. Time was critical, and the battle to defend the Earth was far from over. Captain Nora stood tall beside the line of Humvees. The air still hummed with the energy from the stabilizer that Tom had activated. Dust floated in the orange light of the setting sun as the two police officers, Mark and Ryan, tried to understand what had just happened. A few minutes ago, they had stopped a single man on a bike. Now 50 soldiers stood on the same road, guarding that man like he was a national treasure. Nora stepped closer to the officers. Her calm face hid years of military experience. Her voice carried both strength and kindness. "You two did your job. You saw someone suspicious and acted by the book," she said. "But what you stopped today was not a criminal. You stopped a protector." Mark looked at Ryan, unsure what to say. Ryan's hands trembled slightly. He had seen many things on duty, but nothing like this. "A protector of what?" he asked. "The city? The country?" Nora shook her head. "Of the planet," she said simply. Her answer felt too heavy for them to believe. Mark frowned. "Ma'am, are you saying he's some kind of special agent?" Tom stepped forward before Nora could reply. His calm eyes held no anger toward them. "I work for a program that does not exist on paper. It was made after the first contact." Ryan blinked. "First contact? You mean aliens?" Tom nodded. "A few years ago, something entered Earth's orbit. It was small, quiet, and stayed hidden for months. The governments of the world saw it but kept it secret. The object scanned human communication, human defense systems, and human patterns. When they realized it was not from Earth, they built Project Sentinel to respond if it ever came back." Nora crossed her arms as Tom continued. "I was part of the first human test for the Sentinel field stabilizer. It can block alien scanning signals. The device you saw on my bike was a portable version. It was not a weapon, but a shield." Mark tried to process his words.
"So you're saying this
"Thing on your bike protects Earth from being watched by aliens?" "Yes," Tom said, "but only for a limited range. It keeps human bases invisible when active. I was testing a new core when you stopped me. The aliens must have detected the pulse and locked onto it. That is why we needed to move fast." Ryan rubbed his forehead. "You're telling me aliens are tracking you right now?" Nora spoke firmly.
"Not anymore."
"The field stabilizer is running again. It is shielding this area, but their scouts were close. If we had arrived 10 minutes later, the drones might have broken through the barrier and seen everything." The two officers looked at each other in silence. The road that once seemed empty now carried a weight of truth they were not ready for. The soldiers worked quietly around them, checking equipment and scanning the horizon. Every movement was organized, disciplined, and silent. Tom walked toward his bike. The hum of the stabilizer had become softer now, like a calm heartbeat. He crouched beside it and checked a small monitor. Blue lines pulsed in steady waves. He smiled slightly, satisfied. Nora watched him for a moment before turning back to the officers. "You must understand something," she said. "Humans are not the most powerful species in this galaxy, but we are the most determined. When others see danger, we see survival. That is what Project Sentinel is built on." Ryan tried to smile. "So he's like a secret soldier saving Earth from aliens?" Tom gave a small laugh. "Something like that. But not a soldier. I am just a test pilot. The real fight will come one day and many will stand where I stand now." Nora's radio buzzed. She pressed the side button. "Report," she said, a soldier's voice answered. "Perimeter secure, Captain. No remaining drone signals. The sky is clear." "Good. Maintain observation for 10 more minutes," Nora ordered. She turned off the radio and faced the officers again. "You two will need to forget what you saw today. Officially, this was a classified training exercise. You will receive confirmation from your department in a few hours." Mark frowned. "And if we don't forget?" Nora looked straight into his eyes. "Then you will carry the weight of a truth you can never share. Some secrets keep people safe. This is one of them." Ryan nodded slowly. "Understood, ma'am." Tom stood up and walked back toward them. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out 2 small metal tags. Each had a single word engraved on it: humanity. He handed one to each officer. "Keep this," he said. "If one day something happens and you cannot explain it, remember that someone is out there watching the sky for you." Mark turned the tag over in his hand. It felt heavier than it looked. He looked at Tom and said softly, "You really believe humans can stand against aliens?" Tom looked at the horizon where the sun had almost set. "I don't believe, I know. We may not have their technology, but we have something they will never understand." Ryan asked, "What's that?" Tom smiled. "We fight for each other." Nora gave a signal and the soldiers began to pack their gear. The Humvees started one by one, their engines filling the air with a steady roar. The setting sun turned the sky red and the wind carried the sound of metal and boots across the road. Mark and Ryan stepped back, watching the entire convoy prepare to leave. It felt like a dream, but every detail was too real to deny. The soldiers moved with perfect order, and the entire operation looked like it had been practiced many times before. Tom mounted his bike. The stabilizer glowed brighter for a moment, then faded as he adjusted the controls. Nora walked beside him and handed him a small communication device. "The base will expect your report in 1 hour. You did well, Tom." "Thank you, Captain," Tom said. "The device is stable now. They will not find us again for a while." Nora nodded. "Then your mission continues. Stay hidden. The world sleeps better not knowing." Tom looked at her for a moment. "Do you ever wish we could tell them?" She smiled faintly. "Every day, but the best kind of protection is the one no one notices." Tom started the bike. The engine made a smooth, deep sound as it powered up. He looked back at the 2 police officers one last time. "You two did nothing wrong. You were doing your duty. So was I. But next time, if you see someone who seems out of place, think twice before stopping them. Sometimes the people who look suspicious are the ones keeping the peace." Mark gave a respectful nod. "We will remember." The Humvees began moving in formation. The dust rose again, covering the road like a curtain. Tom's bike rolled forward, merging with the convoy. The rumble of engines echoed across the plain, fading slowly as they disappeared down the highway. When the last vehicle was gone, silence returned. The air was still warm, carrying only the faint smell of engine fuel. The 2 officers stood beside their patrol car, unsure if what they saw would ever be believed. Ryan finally spoke. "Do you think they were really telling the truth?" Mark stared at the metal tag in his hand. "After what we saw, I don't think we have a choice but to believe." He placed the tag carefully in his pocket. "Whatever they are protecting, I hope they never have to fight for real." Ryan nodded. "Yeah, because if that day comes, we won't even know until it's over." The 2 men got back into their car. The radio was silent for once, and the city lights in the distance flickered faintly. As they drove back toward Haven City, the night sky above them seemed deeper and darker. Neither of them noticed the faint shimmer in the clouds far above, where something invisible moved silently before fading away. Far behind them, Captain Nora watched from the lead Humvee. She opened a secure screen in her vehicle and looked at a digital map filled with glowing dots. One of the dots, marked in red, blinked and disappeared. She smiled faintly. "They lost the signal," she said to herself. Tom's voice came through the radio. "Then Earth is safe again for now," Nora replied. "Yes, for now. But they will come again. And when they do, humanity will be ready." The convoy turned off the main road, heading toward the distant hills where the temporary base waited. Above them, the stars began to appear one by one, shining brightly in the dark sky. To most people, they were only lights in space, but to those who knew the truth, they were a reminder that humanity was not alone. The sun had long set over Haven City. Streetlights glowed softly, and the night air carried a faint chill. Mark and Ryan sat in their patrol car, parked near the city bridge. The quiet hum of traffic below them was the only sound that broke the silence. It had been hours since they had seen the soldiers leave, yet their minds were still caught in the moment. Mark kept turning the small metal tag in his hand. The single word engraved on it, humanity, reflected the glow from the dashboard lights. He could not stop thinking about Tom, the man they had handcuffed without knowing who he was. Ryan leaned back in his seat. "You think they were really military?" he asked softly. Mark nodded. "They were. No police or security force moves like that. And that woman, Captain Nora, she wasn't bluffing." Ryan sighed. "It's strange. We deal with car thieves and small crimes every day, but today, we stopped someone who protects the planet." "Makes our jobs feel small." Mark looked out the window at the quiet city. "Maybe, but it also reminds us that even the small jobs matter. If we hadn't stopped him, we wouldn't know what's really happening out there." They sat in silence again. Above them, the stars looked brighter than usual. For the first time, Ryan wondered how many of those stars held someone watching back. Far away from the city, deep in the hills, Tom parked his bike inside a hidden base. The large doors closed behind him with a heavy sound. Inside, rows of equipment, computers, and armored vehicles lined the steel walls. Soldiers moved with quiet precision, checking instruments and updating reports. Captain Nora stood near a screen displaying satellite images. When she saw Tom enter, she turned toward him. The stabilizer signal has stopped, she said. We erased every trace of it from the Sky network. You did well today. Tom removed his gloves and helmet. His face looked tired, but his eyes were calm. The test worked. The stabilizer held even under detection pressure. But the scouts were faster than we expected. Nora nodded. They are learning. That means they will come again, and we will have less time to hide next time. Tom placed his helmet on the table beside her. Then we need to be faster too. Humanity always learns when it must. She smiled slightly. That is why I trust humans more than any system. Tom looked at the map on the screen. It showed several glowing dots moving across space near Earth's orbit. They are still out there, he said quietly. Watching. Nora crossed her arms. Let them watch. They will never understand what drives us. Machines see patterns. We see purpose. A soldier approached and handed Nora a report. Captain, the officers from Haven City have returned to duty. They filed no unusual reports. Good, Nora said. Keep them safe. They saw something that most people never should. The soldier nodded and left. Tom glanced at the screen again. You think they will come back soon? Nora answered, not tonight, but maybe next month or next year. That is why the Sentinel program cannot rest. Back in the city, the police station buzzed with quiet activity. Mark and Ryan returned to file their night report. Chief Daniels, an older man with a serious face, looked up from his desk as they walked in. You two were gone for hours, the chief said. Everything all right out there? Mark handed him the report. Just a speeding bike, sir. Situation handled, the chief raised an eyebrow. That's all? Ryan nodded. Yes, sir. Nothing worth writing more about. Chief Daniels studied them for a moment. Good, keep it that way. We have enough paperwork as it is. As they walked back to their desks, Ryan whispered, You think he knows something? Mark smiled slightly. He knows enough to not ask questions. That's how this world works. They sat down and finished their notes. Ryan opened his drawer and carefully placed the metal tag inside. For a moment, his eyes stayed on the word humanity. He didn't know why, but it made him feel proud. A week later, strange reports started spreading online. People in small towns claimed they had seen glowing shapes in the sky. Some said they were drones. Others said they were stars moving too fast. But the government released no statement. Mark saw one of those news clips on his phone while having coffee at the station. He showed it to Ryan. Look at this. Someone in the desert recorded moving lights. The pattern looks the same as those scouts we heard about. Ryan frowned. Do you think it's them again? Maybe, Mark said. But if it is, I know one thing. Tom will be there before we even hear about it. Ryan nodded. And Captain Nora, too. They both smiled, remembering how calm she had been even with 50 soldiers under her command. She had looked like someone who had seen the edge of the world and chosen to stand on it anyway. That night, far from the city, Tom rode his bike again. The wind hit his face as the stars stretched above him. His mission was not over. The stabilizer on the back of his bike glowed softly with each turn of the wheels. He stopped at the top of a hill overlooking Haven City. From this height, the city lights looked like tiny stars on the ground. He removed his helmet and looked toward the sky. He spoke softly, though no one was there to hear him. For every person down there who sleeps without fear, we fight in silence. For every human who believes they are safe, we stand watch. A voice came through his communicator. It was Captain Nora. Tom, the command center, confirms movement near orbit. Not hostile yet, but watch the skies, he smiled faintly. Always do, Captain. The communicator clicked off. Tom placed it back in his jacket and sat on the bike again. He looked up once more before starting the engine. A faint line of light moved across the sky, almost invisible to normal eyes. He watched it for a moment before it disappeared. Not tonight, he whispered. He started the bike and rode down the hill toward the dark highway. The sound of the engine echoed across the empty land. At the same time, deep in a control room within the Sentinel base, Captain Nora stood before a large screen. Data streamed across it, showing patterns of alien movement and defense grids. She folded her arms and watched in silence. A younger officer beside her asked, Do you think people will ever know what we do here? Nora looked at him. Maybe one day, but not now. Humanity needs peace to grow. They don't need fear. The officer nodded. And if they come again? Nora's eyes hardened. Then they will find that humans are ready. We might fall, but we never kneel. The officer smiled with respect. You sound like Tom. Nora returned the smile. He learned from the best. She turned back to the screen. The map showed Earth surrounded by hundreds of points of light. Some were satellites, some were stars, and a few were things no human had built. She knew each one could be a threat, yet she felt no fear. Humans had faced worse odds before. Days passed, then weeks. The world went on as usual. Children went to school, people went to work, and no one knew that unseen guardians watched from the shadows. Mark and Ryan continued their patrols. Sometimes late at night they would see a distant flash of light in the sky and share a silent look. They never spoke about it again, but both knew what it meant. One evening, as they drove along the same road where they had once stopped Tom, they noticed a fresh tire mark near the shoulder. Mark slowed the car. "Think it's him?" Ryan asked. Mark smiled. "It has to be." They stepped out of the car and looked around. The wind was soft and the air smelled of dust and grass. On the ground lay a small metal case half buried in the dirt. Mark picked it up carefully. Inside was another tag shining faintly in the moonlight. It had one new word engraved below humanity. The new word was remember. Ryan looked at it and said quietly, "He wanted us to know he's still out there." Mark nodded, watching the sky. They stood there for a moment, feeling the calm night air around them. Then they placed the tag back inside the case and returned it to where they found it. "Let's leave it," Mark said. "It belongs here." They got back in the car and drove off toward the city lights. Behind them, the tag caught the moonlight one last time, shining like a tiny star on the ground. Far above Earth, a silent ship drifted through the dark. Inside, alien sensors scanned the planet below but found nothing. The stabilizer's field made Earth appear empty, quiet, and unremarkable. The ship turned away, unaware that humans had learned how to hide from its eyes. And on the ground, hidden from sight, the Sentinel base stood ready. Tom's bike was parked beside the wall, waiting for its next mission. Captain Nora walked along the hallway, her boots echoing softly. She stopped before the main control window and looked out at the stars. She whispered to herself, "Let them come. Humanity will be ready." In the city below, Mark and Ryan finished another quiet patrol. The streets were calm. The sky was clear. Everything looked peaceful, but both men knew that peace came at a cost paid by unseen hands. Ryan glanced upward and smiled. "Good luck out there, Tom," he said softly. Mark nodded. "Good luck to all of them." And somewhere beyond the horizon, a lone bike raced through the darkness, carrying the hope of an entire world.